Hey, what's up? Dean, Super Performance, and we are back working on the GTO. It is cold today. Probably like 40, 30, 38, 37, something like that. But there's frost everywhere, and it killed my grass. But we are about to start it this morning. I'll load in a file that I worked on. Oh, you gotta play. Hold on. It always helps if you plug your interface and turn the car on. It's too cold. Computer doesn't even want to work, but this doesn't take too long. I got my wideband set in here, plugged into my HP tuner box down there. So that's the old school MPVI 1 Pro. And it's got that little green thing that you plug the wideband into. And then I kind of strung the wires around the back of the seat and out the door and under the car. I worked on this a few times, and I don't think I showed the interior on this car, but things like freaking brand new. Plus he saves every single piece of paper that he gets for the car. It's cold. It's almost done already. It is. We're gonna do a cold start. See how this goes. Oh boy. So I'm gonna let it warm up. I'm gonna connect the scanner to it. I had to. Supercharger's cold. I had to make a different function here for this EQ error divided thing. I'm hoping it works. I don't always remember HP tuner stuff. It's been a long time. Commanded, where are ya? Yeah, I mean, it looks close. That spark, what am I doing? Nope, doesn't work. Motherfucker. Of course it doesn't work. Why would it work? Piece of shit. Alright, let me figure this out. Alright, so it's been a few days. I did not figure out the scanner formula math thingamabobber, but I basically just used the wideband in the scanner, the VCM scanner on HP tuners, and just kept doing cell by cell by cell adjustments over and over and over and over and over, which is a really hard way to do it. Until the fuel was basically dialed in, and then started making a little bit of boost, kind of creeping up on the boost, and car wouldn't do more than like 114 kPa, which is about 2 pounds of boost. Found one of the couplers was off. Apparently I probably never tightened it, so I got that back on, tightened it, took the car out. It's very different than what it was. So yeah, here it is. It's pretty much all dialed in. Been plugging away on it. I got to give it a bath. It's a little bit dirty. But basically, the easiest way for me to do this, my truck was down with the transmission issue. So I had replaced the transmission with a used one, and that one gave me issues, and I'll explain that in a minute. It was pretty stupid. So I basically just back and forth from where I live to the shop, just kept data logging. I literally would stop 2 or 3 times on the way here and there and just do adjustment after adjustment after adjustment until I finally got it pretty much dialed in. And the car did have like a weird misfire thing. So once I got the fuel close, I went ahead and put a set of plugs in it, and these are AC Delco 41985 or 125711164. He said they were hotter, he thinks. When the Pro Charger kit was put on, he had these put in. But I did find this one here, which would be number 8, is a little bit of a different color. So these were all nice golden-ish, brownish, but this one is more fuel soaked, and it was worse the other day when I took it out. And you can see on the ground strap, yeah, you know, where the spark hits. Now on the camera it looks very, very bright, but it's nowhere near as prominent as these other cylinders. So I actually took a set of coils I put them on, nothing changed. I took a set of wires, kind of mismatched a bunch of wires, nothing changed. And then I threw the plugs in, and it was a lot different. So I went back to his coils, his wires, so it's all MSD stuff on there. Trying to think, there was something. I just had a thought and then it went away. But son of a bitch. Yeah. So I got that worked out and then dialed it in more and more, started making boost, and it makes about 6.5, 7 pounds of boost now with the cam. It's got a 3¼ inch Pro Charger pulley, which is really small pulley. And it has a 7-inch crank pulley, and I haven't done the math on it yet, but I'm not sure if that's working out right as far as 6.5 pounds of boost. I've not really laid into this thing. I just kind of did like a upper RPM, 2nd gear pull, 3rd gear pull, and that's what it makes, about 140 something kPa, I think it was. 146 kPa, something like that, which if you do the math, it's like 6, I guess it's about 8 pounds of boost. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I haven't really gotten all the way up into all that stuff, but I'm going to look up the math on those 2 pulleys, see roughly what it makes for boost. I may even call Pro Charger and say, hey, you got this pulley, that pulley, you know, what should it be making for boost, roughly? I don't know. But I used NGK BR7 EF plugs, so a colder plug. Car likes them, so I'm good with that. The methanol is hooked back up and starting to spray, so it does make it like almost half a point richer when the methanol kicks in on the air fuel ratio. And I dialed this car in super conservative on the timing. Because I'm also seeing, laptop's dead, but that the grams, the way the cylinder reads on the timing table, it reads like grams per cylinder, something like that. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe we'll just look. Hold on. Okay, so it's cylinder air mass in grams. And in the scanner, I'm seeing like 1.48 is what I'm seeing in the scanner, which is substantially higher, I guess I should say, than what the table in HP tuners can read. And down here at 1.36, I was only seeing like 2 or 3 pounds of boost, and you can see there's no timing in this. And I basically built this. Now this section here looks very rough, but this is me trying to sort out like just a touch of the throttle, and the car wants to act weird. So I basically flatline the timing so I can eliminate that it's a timing issue. And what it actually was is in the fuel injectors, there is this injection timing boundary. So when we look at it, his was 520. Factory is 520 all the way across. This table, the way I understand it, is just what it says here, basically the latest possible crank angle that the injection pulse can finish for fuel to be delivered to the cylinder. I have no idea what that means, I'll be honest. But I watched many videos to get caught back up on HP tuners because I haven't done it in forever and ever. So this is a little scary type, tuning this car, and 6,000 miles, 6,500 miles, whatever it is, on a pro charge car. It's not something you want somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. But I had a very good understanding of HP tuners when I used to use it all the time, and then just from not doing it enough, I lost track of what to do, like injector scaling and stuff like that. But I got all that down. So this table here is something to do with where it'll fire the injector, and that's where so from what I understand is a lot of tuners don't actually play with this table. And you'll get that raw fuel smell, like pouring raw fuel out of your exhaust smell. And this is where that's corrected. It's so basically it'll open the exhaust valve while there's still like raw fuel in the cylinder, and it'll literally pull the fuel out of the cylinder. It's kind of how I understood it. I could be totally wrong, but I started playing with this table here, and that little hesitation is 99% gone. I cliff dove, and this number here was like over 700, and I had kind of interpolated it all the way over, all the way over, and it made all these numbers really high, and that was where that hesitation came in. I was having doing the whole mind not right thing and getting carried away with stuff, so I brought this table way back down and played with it a little bit by a little bit, and I've got it very close. I believe I still need to lower a bunch of this section down, but I have it to a point, like I said, where when the car is warm, that little hesitation's, it's 99% gone. When the car is cold, there's still a little bit of a hesitation, which I believe is just a little bit on the higher side of these numbers. I think I'm at that boundary of too much, so it needs to be brought back. So I'm going to play with that today. I'm also going to play with the spark today, ignition timing today, because I got to figure out where it's getting its timing from when it's over 1.36 grams in the cylinder air mass. And that part I don't remember. But I mean, overall, there's the absolute most in this table is 29 degrees, and that's way up here at 0.08 grams, which the car will most likely never see this region here. So I'm going to play with the spark today, get the spark done, and play with that table a little bit, get that done. Car should be 100% today. My transmission, finally figured it out last night. I've been talking to the guy with the blue Camaro, he had come up, we pressure tested, and what I found yesterday was something that I thought was even weirder, because it would drop the line pressure. And I have a transmission pressure gauge, so I had this connected to the side port on the case. The Better Built Transmission, Brian at Better Built Transmission, me and Jesse went through HP tuners, logging line pressures and stuff, and we weren't seeing what we wanted to see. And he was getting ready to go to a race on Saturday, and that was Friday night, and I straight dove off the cliff. Both of us agreed the transmission was screwed, but I don't know that neither one of us were actually convinced of it. For me personally, I have to know. My mind, the way my mind works is I absolutely have to know. And people can give me the answer and tell me what's wrong. And if it doesn't register as that's what it is, like if I don't know that that's what's wrong, my mind won't, for some crazy reason, my mind will go to, but what if, but what if, but what if, you know. So I'll constantly drag through, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that, man, you know, I will exhaust every resource to find the answer. Sometimes it hurts me a little bit, you know, bites me in the ass, because it takes me so long to get to the same answer that I had, you know, hours or days or weeks ago. But regardless, yesterday when I went to move it, I noticed that it would just go right into gear. And then if I touched the throttle, it would lose the pressure and lose the gear. And I thought that was weird, that the faster you spin the pump, it loses pressure. And then it takes it a while to come back. But it would come back. So I had actually asked the guy, Brian, at Better Built. He just said, man, it's weird. You got burnt forward clutches. Jesse kind of agreed that it was probably a clutch issue. But he originally had thought it was a pressure issue, which that's what it was. So the guy, Brian, had just simply mentioned, he kind of went back and he said, man, does that thing have a filter in it? And I said, yeah, it has a filter in it. I know it has a filter in it. I bought the transmission. Kid said it had a filter in it, but it was full of fluid, and the pan had never come off. You could tell that pan right there had never been off that transmission. So how do you pull a filter out, you know, without pulling the pan off? So I knew there was a filter in there. Probably should have checked, but yesterday I cleaned a bucket. I said, worst case scenario, I'm going to drain all the fluid out of it, pull the pan off, there'll be a filter, it'll be perfect, nothing will be wrong there, and I'm screwed. I got to get a transmission. So I actually cleaned the bucket, drained the fluid, fought with that pan. Those bolts were never taken off. I almost rounded off half the damn bolt heads getting that pan off. That's how tight and socked down those bolts were, you know, from being on there forever. So I finally got the pan off, and immediately what I saw was that there was a filter on there. But so when you're, this is the top of the filter, so it sits in the pan just like this. When you look up, this is what you see. You bastard. Whatever. So this is where it sucks all the fluid in. That's your filter material. And then this filter pushes up into a seal next to the pump. On a 4L80, it's a port that leads up to the pump, but it's off to the side of the pump. 4L60s, the tube is here and it goes directly in the bottom of the center of the pump. But what I noticed was there's like a freaking bullet hole. It looks like a bullet hole in the filter. And I was like, what? So I wiggled the filter. I mean, it was super loose, but on top of that, the whole top of the filter is completely blown out. The tube's got a big crack in it. So I said, man, what the hell? If nobody's ever taken a pan off, well, this one has the little rubber butt plug in it. And I've only seen this on a couple of 4L80 pans, this little rubber plug. Even though it's got a drain, it has this rubber plug. And I couldn't tell you for the life of me why that was done. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there knows why that was done. To me, I would like to know. I'm a freak, weird person that likes to know that stuff. But apparently, at some time, they popped that rubber plug, smashed what looks to me like a round punch, just ripped it through the filter, which I don't know why you would do that. Because if you pull the plug, it's going to drain the fluid. If you pull the drain, it's going to drain the fluid. There was no like socket marks, like slip, like that's not rounded over. I actually did end up getting that out. So I don't know why you would even pull that plug unless you thought, oh, it's easier, which there's no way it's easier. Look how fat that thing is. So to get it in would be a bitch. Then to put a punch through it or something, like I just don't understand why you would do that. So everybody agreed that was the issue. You know, I was not, I'll be honest, I was not that hopeful that that was the issue. No, I was hopeful. I was not that sure that that was the issue, but it made sense that it's pulling the fluid down, sucking in air. Then as the fluid kind of does a drain back into the pan, you know, I'm seeing it full, but it can't, it's not full, whatever. So I get a filter, put it on. Brian gave me it's a 1/4 of an inch above the pan rail is actually your full mark on a 4L80. And that makes sense to me because every one I've pulled the pan a little bit, it pukes a couple quarts of fluid out of it. And then you can start lowering the pan to drain it more and more. So I said, okay, so I marked the dipstick, put it in, blah, 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 get it all back together, and we are up and running. So huge relief. Feels like the weight of the world has been lifted off of me because something so stupid, a $26 filter, like, come on. But that's what happens. So, you know, that's weighed on me. And this is long-winded as hell. But, yeah, I'm going to get back to working on this. It may be something with scale in this graph here or table, but I'm going to get working on it. Get this thing dialed in, get it cleaned up, get my wideband back off. I also did fix the driver's side O2, which I found they had put the extension harness on it and just shoved it like up and over and tucked it in a heat shield. Why, I have no freaking clue. It was just never plugged in. And then the old tuner had literally disabled all 4 codes. I re-enabled the code, it immediately spit the code for the O2. Put it on the lift the other day, found that had been melted. So I extended his O2. I never took it out. I just extended the plug with another O2. I cut the wires, crimped them all together, plugged it in. As soon as I turned the scanner on, the O2 was there, and it shut the code off all by itself. So that's working again. Yeah, so I'm going to finish this up, get my gauge off of it, get it washed, get it ready. He's coming in a couple of days to get it. And then I have to start working on the exhaust for the Duramax, the Escalade, because it reeks like diesel in the cab, and yeah, it's not a good thing. So I'm gonna get to work on that. I gotta reuse this flange because this is some weird. It's not a V-band. It is a V-band, but it's not a V-band. So it's kind of a weird way that one sits on there. So I'm gonna get working on that and report back. All right, so I got it figured out. You have to email HP Tuners and get them to give you an adjustable row access. The column access, which is weird to me, the column access is across the top. The row is up and down. I would think it's the other way, but in HP Tuners, it's not that way. But you have to get them to give you an adjustable row access, and that involves emailing them a bunch of stuff. So basically what I see is in the timing table, whatever 1.36 grams, whatever that timing is at that RPM, it carries that timing down. So being that the car is making about 7.5 pounds, I basically put a real conservative like 18.5 degrees in the upper RPMs, so that once I get that file back from them, and something that, you know, like I said, this is my stepfather-in-law, so it's something that we can go back and forth and play with the timing some more. And then maybe bring the car to a dyno and play with it on the dyno for a little bit, which is something that, you know, we might do down the road. Also, being that this car is very low mileage, Jesse brought up a good point that the ring gap is very, very tight on this motor. So be conservative as far as, you know, it's a boosted motor. Makes sense to me. So that's what I'm going to do. Keep it a little bit richer, which it runs like an 11.2-ish in boost. And then at the very top, it goes kind of like a 10.1. That's with the methanol, not a 10.1, like a 10.9. And that's with the methanol spray. So that's adding like almost half a point to the air fuel. So we'll play with all that on the dyno. Pretty happy with it overall. I adjusted that boundary table a little more, got rid of the hiccup. Is pretty much gone. Like, you just touch the throttle and the car pretty much takes off. So I'm good with all that. I'm gonna come tomorrow, wash it, put a cover on it, park it. I'm done. Send it. But for this one, that's it. I appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Leave me a comment. Have a good day.